Hey guys, it's Mike here, and there's some big breaking news that's coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, and that is that Clone Wars, the animated series, is returning. Now, as you guys may know, Clone Wars ran for about 2008 until about 2013, before it was inevitably canceled. However, the final episodes did go up as its own mini-season on Netflix, and they were perhaps some of the best episodes of the series. However, the fact of the matter is that when Disney took over, the Clone Wars was canceled and came to its conclusion without actually wrapping up all of its storylines and finishing a number of things which were set up to be continued. And we've seen and heard about some of the subsequent stories on StarWars.com, as well as in some of the comics and even novels that came out afterward, so it seems like they may now be returning to finally finish it, something that fans have wanted for a very long time. Now, I did really like the Clone Wars when I watched it, even though I saw the whole series after it had already concluded its first run, and honestly I liked Clone Wars a lot more than I liked Rebels, which I liked the first season more or less, and I liked the final season, at least the second half of it, but really I feel like it wasn't as strong of a series as the Clone Wars in terms of not only the storytelling, but also the animation. And in many ways, the Clone Wars, which is set during the prequel era, I feel like was better than the actual prequel films that it was inspired by, in large part because it actually made those prequel films better than they were on their own. But let's get into this official trailer. Lucasfilm, of course.
The name's Rex, but you'll call me Captain or Sir.
And that's the voice of Captain Rex, who was in Rebels and the Clone Wars.
No soldier gets the promise of safety. My designation is Trooper 27-5555, sir.
And there's Fives.
I'm heavy.
He was also in the Clone Wars.
I'm Commander Cody.
Commander Cody, of course, you guys may remember him from the prequel films.
We got ourselves a batch of shinies, Commander.
I really like this, that they're zooming out with all the helmets, basically showing off the different forms of the clone troopers, as well as the fact that some of these are the helmets of characters that we already had met during the Clone Wars series.
One and the same. Same heart, same blood. Your training is in your blood. My blood's boiling for a fight.
Yeah, and of course, one of the big things about the Clone Wars, which was so interesting, was the fact that they took these clone characters, who in the prequels are basically just a bunch of fodder for the armies and the wars to actually take place, and they actually made them more human and actually explained how they have different personalities, and they're not just a literal carbon copy of one another, even though they actually are clones of Jango Fett. Here comes the Star Wars thing. Explosions. It's always pleasant. A war left unfinished until now. So that's obviously talking about the series itself, because a lot of the storylines didn't actually go finished. And I guess now it's their opportunity to do that. We could see the prequel era ships here, some of the walkers, the clones. Playing the iconic theme as we see Anakin walking out, and of course this is Anakin before he became Darth Vader, looking at the battalions, all the ships, ready for war. This is so awesome. Here's Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Rex, what's so important that you brought us all the way back here?
And there she is, Ahsoka Tano, Anakin's Padawan.
Hello, Master. It's been a while.
And here we go, hashtag Clone Wars saved. So, Yeah, this is pretty awesome, I have to say, as a fan of Clone Wars, as a big fan of Star Wars. Not the biggest fan of the past 2 films that they've released, and even though I was a fan of Rogue One when it first came out, upon subsequent rewatching, I haven't really liked it as much every time. But Clone Wars is something, and I feel like the animated universe right now of Star Wars is something that I find a lot more enjoyable, which may in large part be because Dave Filoni is the one behind it, and he seems to really have a firm grasp on Star Wars and what the Star Wars fans really want to see, which, you know, even though Rebels wasn't quite as good as Clone Wars, it was still something that had a lot of things that I found really interesting. I know a lot of other Star Wars fans did as well. The only thing that I find rather questionable is the fact that at the end of this trailer, we do see that Anakin is meeting with Ahsoka, or at least seeing that she is alive, and it looks like this might be a member of Death Watch right next to her on Mandalore. And we know that eventually Ahsoka goes to Mandalore and faces off against Darth Maul, who has taken over the planet. So maybe this is what they're setting up right here, and that's what the final season of this series is going to be. It is odd that they would be teaming up, because it seemed like the impression I got from Rebels was that they hadn't even seen each other after Ahsoka had left the Jedi Order at the end of the original Clone Wars run. But it should be cool to see them back in action again, and, you know, we couldn't get a reunion of Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, and Mark Hamill on screen together, but at least in the animated universe, we're going to be able to see a reunion of Ahsoka and Anakin and Obi-Wan again. So, like I said, you know, in some ways it seems like the real Star Wars is living on in these animated series, and, you know, I'm pretty excited to see Clone Wars come back. From what I'm hearing, this isn't going to be a super long season, so it could be a lot more focused, and one of the issues I found with the Clone Wars and Rebels was that there was a little bit too much filler. But if they bring this back and it's a really focused season of Star Wars Clone Wars, then I think it has potential to be really great. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Is this something that you're really looking forward to seeing? Do you want to see Clone Wars return again and to finish its stories, or are you kind of over it at this point? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you're new to this channel, then make sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you can see all of my content right away when it comes out. And if you like this video, then make sure to stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Yeah, and you better subscribe, enable those damn notifications.